All right, we're live on Facebook, everybody. Tuesday nights, KHOP88 is on the air. Marnie Glickman has updated her software, and she's joining us from Northern California. All right, Marnie, I'm in Madison, Wisconsin. It is 19 degrees here. I just went for a walk. Ice everywhere. What is it like where you are?
Well, thanks for the weather talk, which is very fun.
We like
live in Northern California. It's about 50. People are wearing long underwear, Ugg boots, and ear warmers. But I'm good. Thanks so much for asking. No fires. We had some rain, so we're safe for another week.
Well, we are joined by two hardy Minnesota men. Probably both chopped wood today to stoke their wood stoves, right? Cured the lutefisk or whatever. Chris Bjork, David Herbst, both joining us from Minnetonka, Minnesota, those environs. Welcome, guys.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
What is the status there in the Twin Cities? What is the weather status and snow status?
Just a dusting of snow, but the temperature sounds about the same as Madison.
Mm-hmm.
And so where are you guys living? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Where are you living in the Twin Cities? Let's geolocate everyone.
Well, we're both
Chris?
in Minnetonka.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Close, familiar stomping grounds. We were talking about this earlier.
We just sold our house after 14 years. We live 2 blocks from my elementary school, Glen Elementary.
It's the best place. There's a lot of great places to live.
Mm-hmm.
But as we've sort of revisited on this show, it's a pretty good place to live.
Mm-hmm.
Glen Lake is there's stuff going on there. You can,
Unmapped Brewery is really good.
Places. So were you guys pals in high school? How do you, what's this connection? On what do we base this?
Probably more elementary school and junior high. I don't think we were as close in high school. We had kind of just drifted into different circles of friends at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead, Chris.
No, you go ahead. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. Then we actually reconnected through our daughters both being in the same dance school. So that was kind of a funny coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. Are they the same age?
Yep.
So were you guys in the waiting? Were you in the waiting room? You're like, hey, I know you.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of interesting relationships happen in these waiting areas of youth activities, I've noticed.
Yeah, and they're both in Chinese immersion too. So, and David came back here. I'm just telling your story, but you had contacted me before you moved back about immersion programs out here, and our daughter is in Chinese immersion. So that's another connection that we have too.
Yeah, that's true.
So where do they go to school? And this is a program offered in the elementary schools now in the Hopkins School District, or?
Hopkins and Minnetonka School District both have it.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's full immersion all the way from kindergarten through graduating your senior year.
Mm-hmm.
So that means they speak and do everything in China. Like, what percentage of the day is Chinese?
Well, as they get into the upper grades, it decreases, but in kindergarten, it's 100% except for like what they call specials, like art class and music and gym. But all of their, reading, writing, math, and science is in Chinese. And then gradually, I think at least in Minnetonka, around 4th grade, they start to incorporate some English, and then it gradually increases. And then in middle school, it's probably a majority of their day is in English, but they still have like 2 to 3 hours of Chinese.
That's fascinating.
So
do they speak pretty good Chinese then at this point? That's the idea, right? You get them started young and.
Yeah, I think they're pretty fluent, and from what I hear, their accent is perfect Beijing accent. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, is it Mandarin or Cantonese?
Mandarin.
And how did you both choose this for your children?
Well, I guess. Why don't you go ahead, Chris? I've been talking.
Well, it's a longer story, but we were now that in Hopkins schools they have like in Minnetonka, so many different options. we had looked at a bajillion of them, lots, and then I just ran into a guy who said, it's the best program, we love the teachers, we can't highly recommend it enough. And I was like, good enough for us. So that's when we decided. But talk about a different type of district and school system than when we all went through, right? And I think at Ike Jingjing at the old Eisenhower High School on Highway 7 is where it is. There's like 42 languages spoken, native languages spoken in the schools. Yeah, it's crazy.
Among the kids who attend there, the families are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is fascinating. Yeah, wow. But cool, right? I mean, it offers certain challenges, I'm sure, but it seems to be for the better.
Yeah.
And
How about you, Dave?
are
How
your
did
kids
you
both
decide?
in Hopkins schools or?
My kids are, Chris is Hopkins, and my kids are Minnetonka.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, that's very cool.
We'll go to each other's homecomings, and I'll just root for Hopkins, the right and perfect team.
That's right.
Yeah, it'll be kind of weird because my kids aren't really into sports, but if they ever do any sporting events, I'll be kind of feeling a little torn.
You know, though, they compete in everything and anything if you can pull it off. It's they're in choir, there's competition. And I mean, when we were in high school, I was in a one-act play, and that was a competition where we all did one-act plays in the theater at Hopkins in an afternoon, and there was, Osseo and Edina, and the winner got a trophy. And it was so bizarre, like competitive theater,
That's amazing.
we were bitter in losing. It was not gracious.
What did you do when you lost, Jason?
Cursed Edina, as you do in any competitive endeavor at Hopkins High School. When you lose, you curse Edina because they're probably the ones who won. Or Minnetonka or Wayzata sometimes,
But always Edina.
Always Edina, right?
Sorry, Edina.
Well, let's take a quick roll call here of our peanut gallery who has joined us. Troy Finn, Chad Alt, Doug Robertson, those guys are frequent flyers. They all, weigh in with a little hello. Vanita Patil and Diana Masters as well are joining us, and people will filter in here as they avoid doing the dishes or whatever they're supposed to be doing at night to watch. So you guys could share your memories of each other, first memories of each other in a second, but Dave Herbst, I don't know if you remember this, you and I played on the same Little League team one season.
Oh, did we?
We wore yellow.
Yeah, Edina Realty.
Yeah, right. And oh my gosh, Todd Greenfield's dad was our coach. I don't know if anyone remembers Todd Greenfield. That was a name from the past. I also remember J.P. Lukowski was on that team, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't. Well, I think your brother was on the team, Dave.
Yeah, I think you're right. He was. Yeah. Because I only played 1 year of baseball beyond t-ball, and my brother was on the team that year. Yep.
Interesting.
I don't remember us being very good, but it was fun.
No.
Was that downtown Hopkins? Was that at Central Park Field? Was it the Mighty
Glen
Mites
Lake Optimists.
Oh, the Optimists. Okay.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. And then Chris, you and I, of course, were in Boy Scouts together.
That's right.
And I don't remember how early that goes back, because you weren't a Gatewood kid, so I don't remember us being really
It was
young.
10, 11. I joined when I was 10.
Okay.
Yep.
Were you guys Eagle Scouts?
Hell no.
I thought you were.
No.
I heard the story that you were. I basically got distracted when I was a Star Scout, so that's when I exited.
It's about
What
right.
did
I
you
got
get
distracted as well.
Okay, what did you get distracted by, Chris?
Well, I guess this was going to come up at some point. I'm sort of the other type. Well, I'm not to compare other students that have been on the show so far, but I'm kind of the anti-student. I mean, I had my hair in my face. I had the pierced ear, as Kyle's picture shows. And part of the reason David and I weren't connecting much is because I was isolating and being a moody, broody teenager. So I was not big into school at the time. So I kind of, all these stories I'm hearing have been really interesting to me because it's like, huh, that was going on. Wow. I guess if I'd have showed up more into the actual building, that would have been apparent. But so it wasn't until my senior year that I actually started to wake up and take things seriously, and both in school and in my life. So there was a gap there though, between like 15 and 16 and a half where I wasn't the best kid. Okay.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because I just more and more, I mean, the more we reflect on our own high school years, the more we think about the experiences that our kids have in high school. And I'm not trying to project this on you by any stretch, Chris, but like this sort of rigorous, and I feel, you know, Hopkins High School offered a lot of opportunities for us for sure, but it was still pretty much show up at 7:30 in the morning, sit in a series of classrooms throughout the day, hit your marks on quizzes and tests, and you'll be fine. There wasn't a lot of alternative if you weren't interested in fitting into that structure. Was that you? Were you just like, I don't want to be in a classroom? Or were you like, I want to do anything but?
Yeah, my logical faculties and my love for learning didn't get ignited until after high school. When you mentioned your son prior to the live part of this call,
Yeah.
I just so related because I took a year off, then I went to Normandale and kind of inched my way into academia at that point as an adult. So it wasn't until later that I realized that I could both, hey, I can play volleyball and I can actually read and write. That's a later realization. So yeah, I was trying to pretty much, I also had a lot of stuff going on in my personal life that was very traumatic, alcoholism in the home, and my own path through that as well was a huge distraction. So that's not been an issue for 30 some years, but you know, back then it was massive. But so that's why I kind of had the undercurrent journey. But you know,
Yeah.
I found my home there too, and I still feel like it's my home. That's the interesting thing after all these years, is that sense of belonging. So
At Hopkins High School, you said? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. That, you know,
Yeah.
it's funny now, kids, and especially this year, kids are encouraged and celebrated for taking this gap year. And of course, like Jesse Lehman has been on and he's talked about this, and maybe one or two other people have talked about this. Like, I didn't really, you know, when you got done with high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to go to college. I wasn't, you know, so I worked for a while. And so thankfully, as a society, we're becoming more and more comfortable with this idea that, oh yeah, maybe 18-year-olds aren't like, I want to be an electrical engineer and I'm going to go to school for it right now and complete all the coursework and never be bumped off that path, you know, like take a couple years, whatever, do, you know.
Yep.
Dave, what about you? What was your, well, why don't you share your first memory with Chris? If you guys were buddies in elementary school, how did that pan out?
You know, I'm trying to think of like specific things. I guess I just remember us, you know, hanging out on the playground and, you know, running around, getting into trouble, and you know, like, and there was another friend of ours, Terry Peterson. Like the three of us, you know, would hang out and you know, get into all sorts of trouble usually.
What kind of trouble? Like,
Well,
what's one example?
I mean, elementary school trouble, like you know.
It was this weird time at the Glen Lake playground. My memory is, and actually the oak trees that we used to play under are still there.
Oh, neat.
Behind the school and behind the playground. So since we lived so close, we were there quite a bit with our daughter over the years. But so I always, every time I'm under the tree though, the first person I think is not Terry, it's David Herbst. I have a memory of us sitting down there and we would talk about Star Wars, and that was such a big deal then. And I remembered, and I don't know if with Brian Wilson, if you were part of that kind of, we'd kind of get into these wrestling matches. You know, I don't know. It was like just boys being boys, I guess you'd say. That's kind of my memory of the time.
Yeah. And
How
usually
big are
doing
the
something.
trees?
Oh,
Sorry.
They're massive. I mean, they're huge.
So this is on the grounds of Glen Lake Elementary School.
Yep.
Yeah, again, the resources of those schoolyards and where they sort of existed as safe spaces, and even to just go hang out when school wasn't in session to, I was just thinking, because it's about to be skating season here, hopefully. And I spent so many like winter nights, just like tonight, walking over to Gatewood to skate and play hockey or whatever with whoever was there. So many moments come up as like we're old people, but like we were, my wife and I were walking through the neighborhood the other day, and there were all these people sledding on a pretty popular sledding hill in the neighborhood, and the scene is dominated by adults. And I looked at her and I'm like, I can tell you this: any decent sledding hill we ever went to when I was a kid, there were 0 adults there.
Yeah.
0. And if there would have been one, we would have found another sledding hill quickly.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, that's a definite change. Like parents are like, children don't really have independent experiences anymore. It's always adult supervised and adult arranged and organized. And, there's probably some more safety to that, but I think the kids are really losing a lot by not having this kind of independence that you learn from those experiences.
Yeah, good point.
Or an adventure without a cell phone in your back pocket.
Yeah, that too.
Well, that would be, I mean, that brings me back to and Harry Chouse has weighed in to shout out Troop 290.
Yeah.
Because we haven't talked too much about our Boy Scout troop, but Chris and I were in this goofy ass Boy Scout troop.
Hey,
with a scout.
So tell us more.
Well, the thing that I have several memories of Boy Scouts, and Chris can weigh in certainly with a couple, but our troop was interesting in that our scoutmaster was this sort of thoughtful psychiatrist named Joe Steen, who his motto sort of was never do for a boy what a boy can do for himself. So he sort of let us fail. And by fail, I meant like ruin your dinner and not have anything to eat until the next morning. And, stuff got burned, like I don't want to say I think we were well supervised and safe. I got the impression that we were safe, right. But we were also pretty free to like figure things out for ourselves. What's your take on that, Chris?
Well, I don't want to go too long to this because there's a lot to Joe Steen, and but just as a boy being in that, and David was in Boy Scouts too in a different troop, so it's like he has a similar experience. We talked about 290 had just such a mix of boys, and because where else do you get exposure to older kids and younger kids within the same kind of group, and so we got exposed to lots of ideas, good and bad, of what it meant to grow up. So that I remembered that. And Joe, the only quick story that I have about Joe is when we were in the staff level teenager type scouts, he to wake us all up in the swamp at scout camp, he got somebody's massive boombox that to me in my memory is like 5 feet across, but it of course wasn't that big. But we would play the 1812 overture at like 6:30 in the morning because we weren't waking up. So he hooked it up to this massive extension cords, and he would sit there with his pipe, like full with his goatee like I have now, but over the pipe, and just wait for us to come pouring out. Anyways, that was my one quick Joe Steen story.
Well, that was because we were so our cohort in 290, our year, Chris, myself, Matt Hockett, Brian Wilson, Jason Crow, Brian Fields, Russ Moser, Steve Ritzinger, probably missing one or two there.
Roy Foley, who could
Roy
forget
Foley, Malaysian
Roy,
kid. But when you get to a certain age, we ran summer camp. We were in charge. We were the staff. So Joe was perturbed because somebody needed to have set an alarm clock to get up and probably wake Steve Ritzinger up, whose job it was to blow the bugle. Like the worst job in summer camp was being the bugler because you had to be the first one up. And I mean, it was old school, like blew like reveille and assembly and.
Okay, this is really interesting. I too was a scout, but a Girl Scout. But I want to hear about Dave. What troop were you in, and do you have anything you want to share about it? It's okay to decline.
Oh, I was. Let's see. I think we were 426, and it was another troop located in Minnetonka, but it was just sponsored by the church I grew up in, and yeah. I mean, I guess one of the things I remember is we didn't actually participate in like Many Point or any of the the scouts things that were from the local council. Instead, our troop master owned property in Nebraska, and we would do like a road trip every year to go there. And I just remember these long road trips, and you'd load up on like candy and comic books and flashlight batteries, and everybody would hang out and trade comic books and candy the whole way down there. And it was, I don't know, maybe like an 8-hour drive or something, but it was like the drive on the bus was almost as fun as the camp out,
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, my scout master troop leader was Shonda Asproth's mom. I don't know if any of you remember her, but anyhow, I was a Girl Scout too. And a cookie selling champion, but
how long, because I think Chris and I were pretty much in Boy Scouts well into high school. Like Chris, I got distracted and stopped.
With what, Jason? Okay, Chris, explain why did you not become an Eagle Scout like Hockett?
Many things distracted me. I wanted to hang out with you and our other friends instead of like going to meetings. And when you're 17 and you're in Boy Scouts and you go on a camping trip, you can't, the days of screwing around are over.
Yeah.
You're running it. You have to be responsible, especially in our troop, you had to be responsible. Okay. And that was just, when you're a senior in high school and homecoming is happening or other football games or Friday night things, somebody's having a party or whatever, you're like, I would really rather not go. I've been to we went camping a lot, which was great, but like, been there, done that. I would rather not sleep in a sleeping bag on the ground tonight. I would rather hang out with my friends. So
interesting.
Interesting.
We all helped. Maybe Chris was along for the ride. We all helped Hockett with his Eagle Scout project.
Oh yeah.
Helped all those guys with their Eagle projects.
That's true. Yeah, those Eagle projects aren't solo by any means. They're definitely they're the Eagle Scout's the leader, but it's a team effort.
So you were not
any nature trail in the greater Minnetonka area, we have put wood chips on or hacked weeds off. Yeah. All that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's too much work. Let's talk about something more fun like sports. I'm joking.
Well, actually, here's something fun is that, I have 2 daughters. So, naturally you would think that the scouting in our family would be Girl Scouts. And that was the case for the older one. But the younger one, it just wasn't a good fit for her. And she happened to reach that realization right at the time they opened up scouting or what used to be Boy Scouts to girls. So she did, 2.5 years in Cub Scouts, and then now she's in her first year in what they call Scouts BSA. So, quite excited about that.
Excellent.
Troop 430.
Wow. Times that they are changing. That's amazing.
Yeah, and so it's a lot of fun. I'm like, because I didn't think I'd really be able to share this experience with her, and I wouldn't have a couple of years ago. But now thanks to these new times, I'm able to do that.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That has got to be another one of those things that kids are getting sort of rooked out of right now, is the ability to get together on, our meetings were on Tuesday nights at the old Glen Lake School, and you learn how to tie knots, and you nail each other with dodgeball, and you know, it was a good time.
Well, in the fall, they were actually able to meet in person. They,
Oh, cool.
you know, just they would have them split off into their patrols, so it was smaller groups of kids, and they were all wearing masks and, you know, lots of hand sanitizer. So she, yeah, so she was able to do like the Arrow of Light ceremony in person, and it was just, I think, the last 2 or 3 weeks that they had to switch to virtual. But you know, hopefully they'll be back, you know, doing in person with the proper safeguards in the spring.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, so let's talk about my pandemic question of the week, which is there anything new that you've started doing during the pandemic that you want to share with us? Chris, something coming to mind?
Career change.
Oh,
That's
Well,
a little something.
Yeah, my the work I was doing, running product development for a healthcare consulting company, publishing books, things like that. When the pandemic hit, all of the healthcare organizations went, and for obvious reasons. So our business dropped off immediately. So and then right as I was sort of getting my hours reduced, which we didn't know how long, still going on, I picked up my passion for woodworking and turned it into a handyman business. So now I'm like pretty much loving that. So it's really given me exposure. So I'm learning so much, and it's actually very goes down into my roots, my family roots. My grandfather was a carpenter and owned a cabinet business, and my uncle did carpentry every summer. He was a high school teacher over at Kennedy for many years. And so it's great. That's been my thing.
and so do you have like a woodshed or like a man cave where you do these things?
Well, right now I'm working out of the garage,
Yeah.
but most of my work is paid and it's in people's homes. So it's actually built and put in and used. So
Cabinetry? What are you making?
yeah, I've done some woodworking, to cabinets, just some small projects, but it's been mainly rough carpentry, tape, mud, you know, drywall, the whole deal, electrical. Don't tell the city of Minnetonka. And but you know, plumbing, basic stuff that I've been doing for my own houses over the years has just gotten a lot more refined and sharpened.
Yeah, that's pretty great. So you find that work rewarding? I mean, you obviously meet a ton of people doing that and go into a bunch of houses and stuff. Yeah.
It took this sort of nebulous process of never-ending process, which is product development, just never ends. It just keeps going in these evolving cycles, right? These sprints. And you know, you're delivering value, and the value is delivered to a user somewhere along the chain of consumption. But in this way, my creation goes right to a person that I'm talking to face to face, you know, and it's a different kind of a experience. And I hope it evolves so that I'm doing more high-end work eventually, like maybe even cabinetry, like my grandfather, would be very interesting. But I've not been at it that long to really find that specialty yet, but.
That's cool. How about you, Dave? What's new with you in the pandemic?
You know, I really haven't done anything new, but maybe something I already was doing, I'm doing more of and better at it. I have a garden in the backyard, a vegetable garden that, you know, I started with my kids when we moved into this house, and you know, it's yeah, I was able to spend more time on it and get better results last year. Like we actually had more zucchini than we knew what to do with, and
Of course.
yeah, well, although previous years I actually kind of struggled a little, so I guess this year I got it right, because that's how it should be. You should have more zucchini than you know what to do with.
Yeah, you drop them off on your neighbor's steps.
Yeah,
Pickles.
exactly.
What else did you grow?
Let's see, it was zucchini, sweet peas, string beans, let's see, potatoes, carrots, and just a small strawberry patch.
You
That
got
doesn't
potatoes
sound-
to grow?
Oh, and tomatoes too.
Oh man.
And your kids eat the produce? Honestly?
Sometimes there's it kind of depends on, like, they'll eat the peas because, who doesn't like sweet peas fresh off the vine, but and then the zucchini, if you make zucchini bread, I mean, that's nothing any kid would turn down. So yeah, so but they won't eat the tomatoes, at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Someday.
Yeah, at least they've seen where they come from and they know how to make things. And I guess I wanted my kids to know where food comes from, and not be like totally confused when they don't see it in the grocery store.
I'm told that one of these products that used to be in abundance and now suddenly is a rarity during the pandemic is mason jars.
Yes.
Because everyone's suddenly
Yes.
like canning because
Mhm.
it's all turning back to the old.
So weird.
That's true. I can food, and it is a big problem.
It's funny. Yeah, a woman I know does, they have bees. She lives out in the country.
Mm-hmm.
They have bees. Her husband has sort of gone full force into honey production out there.
Oh, neat.
And it is really cool. Like, she would roll into town and with the back of her car full of these jars of just beautiful honey, and selling them to her friends and everything. But yeah, she was like scrounging up jars because you
Mason
couldn't
jars.
mail order them from anybody. Normally you could find them at the grocery store, and now they're just out. There doesn't exist retail mason jars.
So real quick, one of the questions you had asked earlier was teachers and what teachers were important. And I have vague memories of the teachers who taught English and like biology, but I spent so much of my time in the art department. And Brad Norla and Mel, and then Vern Anderson. His name isn't mentioned much. I haven't heard it much on this on these shows, but he was just such a crotchety old guy, like grouchy, but like he taught me what I learned about like figure drawing and painting, which I would carry on at Normandale in studio arts when I was into that. He was one of the teachers that, like, all three of them kind of at the same time reinforced excellence. Like, Mel's thing was that, look, if you're gonna make a bong in my studio, in this studio, if you're gonna make a bong, you better make a good one or we're gonna smash it. I mean, like,
Whoa.
like don't bring home a bunch of crappy pots to your parents, because they're gonna hang on to them forever. And I can tell you, upstairs in this house, there are crappy pots sitting on a shelf that I made, including one that looks suspiciously like a bong, a bad one. Somehow it didn't get smashed, but he would say that. He's like, and he'd say, if anybody can make a tea kettle and pour it without a drip, you get an A in the semester. You don't have to do one more thing. And
Wow.
Kids tried, no one could do it. A guy named Wayne, and I can't remember Wayne's last name, was an excellent potter. Maybe someone out there remembers Wayne's last name.
Wayne Murphy?
Possibly. Yeah, maybe I think maybe you're right. Anyways, I love
That's great. That's a great story. I love that. You're going to make a bong in this class. It's going to be a good one. Because of course everyone made bongs in art class, or wood shop for that matter.
They tried.
I mean, I'll leave his name out to protect the guilty, but I lived near and rode the bus daily with a guy who brought home basically some sort of weed smoking project from one of his classes. It seemed like every week.
I am positive I knew that person.
Taxpayer dollars going to. Dave, what about you? Do you have a teacher that sticks out?
For me, it goes a little further back. My sixth grade teacher, Mr. Rude, I think he had a pretty big influence on me because I really wasn't interested in school. As a matter of fact, I hated school and I just didn't participate whenever I could get away with it. I didn't do any of the assignments or the schoolwork. And, a lot of teachers didn't really know what to do with me. And I think I, kind of was kind of skirting by, because it was too much work to try and get me to do anything. Well, he put the screws on me. He did not let me get by with that. And at first I really, resented that. But then I remember actually starting to feel, like a sense of accomplishment, because I was like, even though it was my choice not to participate, I think I was also kind of like feeling after not participating, I wasn't doing very well, obviously. So then I started to not really think I could do anything in school. So after he, forced me to do my homework, forced me to start working on assignments in class and what have you, I actually was improving, and I was like feeling pretty good about it. So, I have to thank him for that. That's, it kind of changed. I was never like in love with school, but I at least realized I could do well if I tried, and that, that was a good feeling.
I've been wondering lately if there was a way for us to find some of these teachers, if they're still alive, to be really honest. We know Mel's still around, but it's just kind of interesting how much positive influence one great teacher can make on us 40 years later, 45 years later.
Well, Brad, he ran the arts department, or the art building at the state fairgrounds for a little over a decade, maybe. Someone might watching would know, but it was his responsibility to bring all that amazing local art together in one place. I mean, that's
a big deal.
It's the one thing I'd like to do every time I go to the fair, and what I've really missed it not having it this year, is to go see the art. And so I would try to find him when he was there, and I'd always thank him for his efforts and what he did. And of course,
cool.
He wasn't much for pleasantries at the time. He was a gruff individual. Yeah. But I appreciate everything he was doing for the art community. And
I remember I never took an art class. I'm not sure I set foot in the art department at Hopkins, but I was on the cross country ski team, and Norla somehow was an assistant coach on the cross country skiing team. And he said more than once, I don't know what I'm doing out here. I'm an art teacher. Like, I think they were like, hey, we need an assistant coach because we need like literally another adult body on the bus when we go to meets. And he was like, what the hell? I cross country ski, I'll do it. But there's a big difference between like the putting on your no-wax treks and going around the golf course and like Pat Lannon's Hopkins High School ski machine. And I think that's where Norla was like, all right.
It takes it to another level.
Yeah. But yeah, that's good. We keep hearing about those art school teachers. And Vern Anderson, I remember Vern because when we were young, they would do, like, the high school teachers would come into the elementary schools and do little in-services. And Vern's thing was wood cut printmaking.
Yeah.
And he had these amazing prints and just that whole process, which I still love. And at some point this winter, I'll break out my, cutting tool and do a linoleum block or two. And
really?
Yeah, I mean, I don't do it enough. And my wife sort of makes fun of me, like, why do you have that stuff? And but it's a cool process. Like, I'm not good at it, but I enjoy the process of it. And it's a cool little pastime. But yeah, that dates, and Vern used to have these he would illustrate books with his, woodcut prints. I think he was relatively well known around the Twin Cities for that. In another stroke of what the hell was going on at Hopkins High School when we were there, and all these amazing people were our teachers. And we just thought they were squares at the time. Okay, so
yes,
some ladies have joined us in the broadcast here tonight. Natalie Ojeda George is here. Karen Hintermeister is here. Now, Natalie says that, Chris, you grow butterflies.
Oh yeah, I was thinking when you were talking about your garden, I have become madly passionate about native wildflowers, and just by accident, like 5 years ago, milkweed popped up in our yard. And I kind of thought, oh, Jim Gilbert used to teach all about this back at the grade school, junior high, and high school. And then I went to the summer camp. So then it just lit up in me. It's like, ooh, monarchs. So at 2 years ago, we raised 100 monarchs.
No, you're holding out on us.
And we went like, I must have collected like 20 or 30,000 seeds from the plants that had now gone crazy, and that poor people who bought our house are going to find that out in spring. They're going to be like, what is milkweed? But come back every year. And so we were a factory. My daughter and I were just raising them like crazy. And then trying to build, like we made little seed packs with little coffee filters and instructions, and we just hand them out to anybody we could to try to get more habitat going. And then eventually, and I'll shut up, we got—
Oh, it's cool.
No, don't shut up.
I ran into somebody at the state fair. It was someone who works for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and they have an office in downtown St. Paul. And they do programs with inner city youth, and they bring them out. They actually have programs where they create what are called prairie bombs, and they take different types of seeds, including milkweed, and they put them in peat moss and dirt and water, and then they get them all like together like this. They dry them, and then they take them on nature walks, and as they're walking, they throw them. The ball busts apart and all the seeds go everywhere, aka prairie bomb. And I brought all my surplus seed down to her for several years, and thousands of seeds to add to their cache of seeds for their program. Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's cool.
Because we've done that. We've not to that extent, but yeah, you let milkweed grow in your yard and it's like magic. The butterflies start showing up and it's great.
It's crazy. And then we followed everything, the science and all that, everything about their flight path. And I mean, it was a really good thing for my daughter, I think, to experience that with me kind of partnered, it's been fun.
That's very cool. Jenny Thompson is on here, and she just weighs in with another shout out to Jim Gilbert, who we haven't even, I can't believe it's taken us how many episodes to get to Jim Gilbert
32?
Again. What an amazing experience. We all got dragged out there how many times a year on field trips and tracked deer and lots of scat. Built Quincy, we talked about Quincy's with Laura Etnier, but I built a Quincy out at Carver Park, I'm sure.
Yeah, right.
I wonder if Jim Gilbert is still with ham radio. I wonder if Jim Gilbert's still with us.
I don't know. I'd love to know what happened to him. Yeah.
Because he used to be on the radio and on TV. He was sort of like the nature guy for the Twin Cities. And
yeah, he was on WCCO.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, do you guys have anything to ask each other or to talk about, the little memories that we didn't get to, or things that you like, I'll be on this show, what am I going to think about that we haven't gotten to yet?
I think I was just going to tell Marnie, I used to live not too far from you, because I think you're in the North Bay, aren't you?
Yes. Where did you live?
I was in Burlingame and San Mateo on the peninsula.
Oh, wow. What were you doing in the South Bay?
Just wanted to try living somewhere else for a while. And so, moved there like in about 2000 and spent 11 years there. And I'm a software developer, so I was able to find work there, but, no place you'd ever have heard of. So, most of the startups don't ever make it. So.
Well, it's nice to know you survived California. I hope my California life is not forever. It's such a weird place. And hearing everyone talk about the snow, I really miss the snow a lot.
Yeah. Although after you've been back for a few years, then you won't miss it again.
That's probably true.
Yeah, like I missed it when I was in California, and then now I've been back here for
You're okay.
For enough time that I don't miss it anymore.
I am starting to see the appeal of these people who are our parents' age, who, they kick around Minnesota until right after the holidays and then down to Florida or Arizona. So they get just enough winter, they get like a good dumping of snow and maybe a couple of single digit degree days, but then they just rinse it off as they.
I
as
will
they
say
head to
something
South
about
Florida.
California, because we joke and are serious about the weather, but I really love the West. And so like, it really isn't about the weather. It's just these wide open spaces and the mountains and the ocean so close together. My husband's from the desert, the southwestern desert. And even the desert is just so beautiful. I just like the West. So yeah, y'all can retire out here with me.
I do too. It's really wonderful to visit out there. Yeah.
It's the affordability, I think, that makes it the challenge.
I'm with you on visiting. I love going out there for periods of time, but yeah, I need to be around lakes and trees and that sort of, is again, at the same time that I'm thinking like, oh, it'd be nice to go down south for a couple of months now during the winter. I love a Midwestern summer and those June, July days. I just want to absorb them into my body now.
Even when they're really sultry like that, it's like, oh, this is awful. And you're like, stop it, Chris. This is not awful. Just quit doing that.
Well, yeah, because in the North Bay, as soon as the sun even looks like it's setting, you got to start putting a jacket on or something. There is no warm summer nights in Northern California.
Isn't that funny? Yeah, I just stopped complaining about summer. We had a particularly bad winter maybe 8 years ago or something, and I just made a pact as I was shoveling my driveway and it was 6 below or something. I'm like, I'm never complaining about summer again. Never, 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 never. I'm just going to sweat and love it. And I pretty much have, I just made up my mind that day. That's the way it was going to be. It has been.
It is so nice to hear your stories, guys.
I just want to shout out to the reunion, to our reunions that we've been having every 5 years. And after I went to the 20-year, and I had not been to one yet and didn't quite know why I was there. And I had the best time ever reconnecting with classmates. And that's what fired me up. That's why I'm here, because I've stayed connected with like Joel Evans and Karen and Natalie and Chad. And it's just been like, for me, it's like, it's an opportunity for me to kind of give back to the school life that I was a taker of mostly in my high school days. It's like, oh, this is a way to sort of make amends or kind of like help keep our class together over time. So it's been challenging, but I really enjoyed participating on the reunion committee. And so a shout out to the committee, but to all the classmates who have made it a priority to come back and visit every 5 years and have a good time somewhere. And, it's a way for us to keep old connections alive and hopefully bring a few new people back, old people back to be new again. I don't know how you would say that, but
it's really cool what you guys have built, because you are there. You have this reunion committee, and it's like nobody ever said like, well, there needs to be a reunion committee. Who will be on it? You guys just picked up the responsibility sort of organically, I would say. And I'm glad to hear you say that, because we've had people on that committee on the show. Obviously, Karen and Natalie have been on, but we haven't specifically talked about. Yeah. Oh, and she's on the committee. We haven't specifically talked about reunions, but yeah, that's certainly a job to do. And now we're looking toward 35. For God's sakes.
Let's not even. It's not happening. Okay.
That's great. Did we hit everything? Marnie, do you want to preview our upcoming guests?
I didn't pull it up.
This has become a tradition when Marnie goes searching for the spreadsheet.
Well, I'm paying full attention to your zoominess.
No, I know. It's always...
Guys, I know. It's a bad joke. I know you're just saying it lovingly.
We did.
Well, next week is a mystery. Watch out, everyone. I'll be texting you soon. But we have episode 33 booked. December 29th, Lisa Stuppy, Casey Lunetta, and Jennifer Marasek.
Marasek. Yep.
Marasek.
We're at,
Yes.
Here you go. Bing, bing, bing. Got it.
January 5th, Troy Finn. January 12th, Deborah Oleski Brill and Julie Hepner. January 19th, Denise Peterson Klosterman, Joy Geislinger, and Stacy Semler.
Oh, nice.
And then we're still looking for the hockey team. We're still looking for the great tennis ball fight culprits. And all of you have to schedule your dates soon. We're going to keep going.
Excellent.
We are going to keep going. It shows no sign of stopping at this point.
No.
Well, and both, by the way, I just want to thank you both for doing this. It is a labor of love and much appreciated. And I've appreciated getting to be able to see these, especially since I haven't been to everyone live to catch up. So good on you.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thank you both. And I usually miss the live ones because it's scouting on Tuesday nights, but I've watched some of the replays and it's great what you guys are doing. So thank you.
It's been very fun. Yeah, it's a cool thing to set our Tuesday nights aside for. So, Karen Koski Hintermeister is posting Jim Gilbert news in the feed. So he retired after 42 years on WCCO. 42 years.
Wow.
My Lord. Yeah, maybe we'll have to have Jim Gilbert on our show.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I think we should get some of the teachers on. I know I know that we've been focusing on our classmates, but I think we should put our heads together online, everyone. Let's go find out them all.
Ramon, Reina, Mel. Okay, there's two.
We had Ramon. Mel, we tried to get, and he sort of stood us up, but it's all right.
That's okay, Mel. You can come on.
Right. The invitation's always open, Mel.
Yes.
Chris and Dave, thanks a lot, you guys. It's great to hear you're doing well and you're getting through it, through the challenges of the pandemic, and you're doing it within spitting distance of Gatewood and Glen Lake and all that stuff. So I wish there, like, none of the old shopkeepers that we used to give that guy at the VCR, the VCR rental, the tape rental place in the Glen Haven Mall there. That guy, we used to trade it with him pretty good. I forget his name, but yeah, he was. Anyway. Marnie, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Be safe, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Special holiday show next week, right?
It's Hanukkah tonight. Come on.
Hanukkah tonight.
Hanukkah.
Oi.
Oi.
Okay.
Oi. All right, bye.
Bye, guys.